This is my first year in Greenberg, and I'm so excited to be working with all of our families and community members.
Good evening, Greenberg families. My name is Lori DeAndrea. I am the literacy coach for pre-K through 12th grade. I've been in the district for 25 years and very happy to say that. Welcome. I hope that you all get a lot out of this Parent University. Kelly and I are here. If you have any questions after, you can certainly email us, and we will be holding multiple Parent Universities throughout the year, and you will get notification about that.
And good evening, everyone. I'm Angela Gito, and I am the sales rep that partners with Greenberg. This is my third year working with the district, and I will let my colleague Libby Bump introduce herself.
Hello. So nice to be here tonight. My name is Libby Bump. I am the account manager. I have been working with Greenberg in this current position for just over a year, but I have had the pleasure of working with Greenberg in other capacities for about 3 years now.
Great. Welcome, everyone. And my name is Danielle Sullivan. I am one of the national directors at Curriculum Associates. I am a native New Yorker. I'm actually zooming in from outside of Ithaca. And before I was a national director, I was a 5th and 6th grade special education teacher in Central New York. So I'm very excited to share with you today how all of the ways that we support your children through iReady. But I would like to do a quick check-in. How are you feeling on a scale of pumpkin? Just type in any number you want. Whatever you type in is correct. Halloween is Monday. Thought this would be a fun start to our night. We got a 1, 4. We got some 5s. Couple of 1s. All right. Well, that's great. You're really excited. I'm glad we don't have any 4s yet. Okay, 3s. Excellent. So today, this evening, we're going to focus on what iReady is, how we support your students with personalized instruction, understanding the parent report, and then resources and next steps. We will stop frequently to see if you have any questions after each of these sections, but we also have a whole team manning the chat. Please ask any questions as needed, and we are recording this so you can watch this in the future. I'm going to put several links in the chat for you. So if you wouldn't mind, I'm going to put some of these links in the chat, or if my team wants to help me, I do have the links pulled up. But the first place, give me 1 second. I'm going to tell you about, whoa, what happened to my computer? Okay, here we go. The first place I'm going to tell you that's going to be a very helpful link is called iReady Central. iReady Central Engaging Families. So that's the first link I'm going to put in the chat. Then I'm also going to include this family guide for you, so you can have that. The second thing is understanding your child's diagnostic results. And the third, we're going to give you some at-home trackers to support your child at home. So those are some links in the chat. We were happy to put those in the chat again, and then we'll make sure that you get those links at the end. So what is iReady and how does the diagnostic work? First of all, it is an adaptive diagnostic. What that means is your child will start the diagnostic just below their grade level. So if your child's in 3rd grade, they'll start just below 3rd grade. Then it'll adapt up and down to find the just right fit. Know that iReady is called criteria reference because it's going to tell you how your child is performing against a K-12 spectrum of standards. It's kind of like when you take your child to get an eye exam. How many of you have taken your child to get an eye exam? How many of you have gotten an eye exam, right? So it's like lens 1, lens 2, lens 1. So it's adapting up and down to see what right prescription for learning. That's why we call it a diagnostic. We're helping to see what your child knows, what they don't know yet. And then we give the educators and you, if you're interested, actionable next steps to make sure that your child is successful with the partnership with their educators. So it looks like this. We assess across the domains of reading, and we have 6 domains in reading. That was fun. 6 domains in reading, 4 domains in math, and every student who takes the diagnostic has a personalized roadmap for success. We are assessing students because students have different needs across the different domains. So some students may look like this, some students may look like this, and we go through to create our scale for the diagnostic, a rigorous standard setting process. So when you are looking at the results of the data, we develop our scale score based on the criteria of what students should know and be able to do for each grade level compared to state standards. So if you have a student who places at an early 4th grade level and they get a scale score of a 465, we also provide norms. So normative data is comparing students to other students. So you will see some of this on the family report, but I just wanted to give you kind of an overview of what we're assessing. We also have individualized growth targets for students. So typical growth is growth we've observed that students could grow in one academic year, but has it been a normal couple of academic years? No, it hasn't, which is why we also provide stretch growth for students, which is aspirational yet attainable. So thinking about stretch growth versus typical growth, if a child grows 1 year of typical growth, they're not going to quite catch up versus 1 year of stretch growth to get them on grade level. So even if they have 2 years of typical growth, if they can get their stretch growth in 1 year, depending on where they place, the likelihood of them catching up is much higher. So let's go in and show you what this looks like. In a couple resources for you. So I'm going to put, okay, we put the links again. There is a website that we will reference that has all of the information you could possibly need and more around iReady. So follow up. So this is your first dose, opportunities to ask questions. But the family guide that we put in here is going to give you an overview of all the things with iReady, including how to see what it looks like in your child's dashboard. And then this will be the family report. But let me show you just so you can see what iReady looks like. This is what educators see when they log in. It's called iReady Connect. We work really hard to make it very actionable so educators are able to quickly take action on the data. And I'm going to just show you what an overall class placement would look like, just so you can understand the colors and what your educators see. So across the domains of math, we have 3 colors. All of our reports have 3 colors: green, on or above grade level; yellow, 1 grade level below; and red is more than 1 grade level below. Then we're comparing students to grade level standards. So your educator is able to see exactly where students are according to the standards. And then every student has their personalized roadmap for success. So the diagnostic is adaptive. And let me show you what the students will see when they log into the diagnostic. So all of your children have their own login. Adults, educators have a login, and then students have a login. When they log in, when they took the diagnostic, that's the only thing they could take. So they click on that button. And there are tools and tutorials and videos to help set up your child for success. So as your child, before their child even there were introductory videos, then they had certain tools that they had little videos to give them tutorials to set them up for success. Once they finish the diagnostic, they are able to see their scale score in their path, and then instruction is automatically assigned to them. So once your child finished the diagnostic, they're able to see how they did with the scale score. But of course, the best practice is for educators to share the data with them. And this is why we're having this night with you. So you are empowered to understand how iReady can support your child. So that is the overview on the actual diagnostic. Questions so far? Yes. Oh, Libby. I was like, yes, it is available in many languages. You were talking about the family guides available in other languages. Questions about the actual diagnostic before we get into personalized instruction? Okay. Because we're live, I wasn't going to play you a video, but in the iReady Central page, there is a family center where there is a video explaining the diagnostic again, and you can play the closed captioning. So if for some reason you forget after we met this evening and want to know a little bit more information, you can watch this video. And actually, maybe I'll play it because I'm choking. That's awesome. So iReady Central. That is not the video. Okay, and we're back. So to give you a little tutorial about iReady Central families. Let's talk about personalized instruction. When your students complete the diagnostic, they are automatically assigned a personalized path for success of our iReady lessons. The iReady lessons are explicit instruction, guided practice, and they also have a progress monitoring quiz. So when students are taking the lessons, you're able to see how your child is performing during their reading lessons and math lessons. The way this works is if the child is on 3rd grade reading, they are going to be assigned lessons in their biggest area of growth first. So this child will be getting lessons in literature. So this is a 3rd grade student who is at a 1st grade level in literature. So they'll be getting literature lessons first, then informational text, then phonics. So when you would look at your child, so when educators look at the path, which educators can see the data, they are able to see that students will be getting text features and identifying feeling words and stories. It's going to move them towards grade level proficiency. For instance, in math, same thing. This is a 4th grade student in math. They would be getting lessons in algebra and algebraic thinking first, because that is their biggest area of growth. So this could be their lesson path as they take the diagnostic. And again, it'll feed students lessons automatically, moving them towards grade level proficiency. When students log in, they can choose between reading or math. So let me go live and show you what the student dashboard looks like. So you can see this at home. Your child can log into iReady at home. And when you see your child's dashboard, this right up here is our family center. So you could have your child select this, and this is where we have the video. So you could rewatch the video talking about the diagnostic, frequently asked questions, any technical support, and then the guides that we already put in the chat, they also live here. We always want to empower families every step of the way. But I'm just going to give you a little overview of what this dashboard looks like and what kind of information you can see through your child's dashboard. There may be 2 different sections. My path is the path that iReady has automatically assigned to your child. These are the lessons that are in there, starting with their greatest area of need and then working towards proficiency. Some of your children's teachers may have assigned teacher assigned lessons. That would be on the left-hand side of the screen. There's a variety of reasons why teachers assign lessons. It could be to reinforce content or really be specific for different things that they're teaching in school. That looks like over here. Now, your child has a lot of flexibility in the dashboard there's something called My Stuff where they can change the background. If you logged out, you log right back in. So let's go here. So they can select My Stuff where you can have them change the background. Unfortunately, sometimes kids just stay here. So the teacher can actually shut this feature off for students. When students pass lessons, they earn coins. So you may see your child might be interested in playing one of these games. Again, the teachers can shut this off, but this is an internalized incentive for students to be excited about iReady. They also can see their progress, and so can you. Our recommended time for personalized instruction is 45 minutes per subject per week with a 70% or higher pass rate. So you're able to see how much time your child's been on iReady, how many they passed the school year, and what their lesson pass streak is. You also, if you select this arrow, you're able to see all of the lessons and how your child has done in each of the lessons. This is where, if you're interested in having your child have that at-home tracker and they're taking their iReady lessons at home, you are able to, this is a great way for your child to be able to see what lessons they've been successful, maybe what lessons they aren't as successful. I believe team children are logging in through, was it Clever? How are students logging into their iReady at home?
A class link.
ClassLink. Okay, thank you. So then that's reading, same thing with math. You can see the lesson status, you can see time, you can see lessons passed. In math, in particular, they also have access to learning games. These are fluency games. And again, your child's teacher is able to see how many minutes they've been on, but this is a really fun way for students to play more gamification with mathematical fluency, and they have access to that through their iReady dashboard. So questions about the personalized instruction so far?
I have a question.
Sure.
Does the teacher, should they be doing what the teacher recommends them to do, or what iReady recommends them to do based on their diagnostic test?
That is a great question. Would the school team want to answer that first before we answer from our perspective, or you want me to answer from our perspective first?
So if a teacher is assigning some work, then certainly the teacher has in some way, shape, or form determined that the child could use some reinforcement or could use some practice with that. So it really should be a combination of both. But I would always share with parents that if you find that it's too much, like you believe that your child is spending too much time on the independent practice or the practice at home, or it's maybe getting to the point where it's frustrating for them, then you have to please give your child's teacher that feedback so that they can adjust it accordingly. iReady team, if there's anything that you'd like to add.
I'll just jump
wanted
in.
to add, oh, sorry, Libby.
No, go ahead, Lori, go ahead.
Usually when teachers assign lessons, they speak with the student about that, and they usually do those lessons in the class. So you may not see them available at home because it's usually classwork.
And that's kind of building on, I was going to build on that. Like oftentimes the teacher assigned lessons are more, they're grade level lessons, whereas the MyPath will certainly address particular gaps that the diagnostic has recognized. And so certainly, like, we don't want you battling it out with your kid after school. Definitely, if it's an on grade level teacher assigned lesson, just be sure that the teacher actually wanted your student to complete that at home, because oftentimes, as Lori said, that's for in the class, whereas MyPath may be more appropriate for them to just do a lesson or two when they're at home.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. For kindergarten, is the login process the same? It should be, correct? ClassLink?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes,
Heads are nodding.
same thing.
I have another question.
Great.
For children that are in special needs classes and they're, how do you do I ready with them at school? How do you do one-on-one? Does someone sit next to them and help them? Or is it just, they're just clicking away?
There's parent-teacher conferences next week. I feel like that would be a question that you should ask the teacher.
Yes,
she would
but
be
this
able
is
to
a
give-
program that was made for children to be tested on. So I'm assuming that they should also know the answer.
So
because
I can,
it's
yep, and I can answer that from our from the diagnostic standpoint and as a former special education teacher as well. So the diagnostic is designed to meet the students at their independent instructional level. So if a student is, I was a 5th and 6th grade special education teacher. So my 5th graders may have been at an independent instructional level. Maybe some of them were 1st grade, 2nd grade in math. So what iReady personalized instruction will do, it'll
we
meet
can't
them
hear
at-
you.
Oh, you can't hear me?
We can hear you. I can hear
Okay. Let me just adjust this.
She's
So
frozen.
Am I frozen?
Danielle,
Sounds great.
I can see you and hear
Sounds
you.
great on my end.
Okay. Okay. So the diagnostic is, because of the adaptive nature, it is going to be at, so if, like I said, if my 5th grade student is at a 2nd grade level in math, the personalized instruction will meet them where they are. So they should be able to be successful taking the MyPath lessons. What they were talking about, the teacher assigned lessons, that may be a little bit more rigorous content. That's why sometimes the best practice is to do those lessons in school. But regarding the other resources that iReady provides, iReady does help individualized roadmap for success for every student. So we have reports that teachers can look at to help with grouping, to help write IEPs. There's a lot of wonderful data that iReady does provide. But when it comes to independent instructional level, that's how the diagnostic works. Hopefully that answered your question-ish.
No, yeah, you were frozen, so I wasn't really able to hear everything you said, but I would ask their teacher. But I just wanted to know, like, my child will say, I always get everything wrong on the iReady. So then I'm like, well, shouldn't someone be there with them, teaching them? Showing them if they don't know?
Yes. And that leads me to the next point about personalized instruction. All of the educators are able to see personalized instruction in real time. They're able to see how many minutes students have been on, what their pass rate is. And this is not, it's designed for a teacher intervention. So if a child is not being successful on a lesson, they will get the lesson again. So if a child does not pass a lesson, they'll get the same lesson again. If they do not pass that lesson, they'll get a new lesson in the same domain. So for instance, let me show you Atanya's. So Atanya did not pass this lesson, right? Building sentence comprehension. So then Atanya got that same lesson again, but then didn't pass it. So then Atanya got citing text evidence, didn't pass that, got the same lesson again, didn't pass it. If they basically don't pass 4 lessons in a row, then this entire domain shuts off. Teachers will get that alert, and that means that something isn't working well. Either the student isn't understanding or the student is frustrated. There's many reasons why a child may not be passing lessons. So if your child is saying that they're struggling with iReady, that is a great opportunity to bring that to parent-teacher conference, because this is an opportunity to make sure that everyone's on the same page. Maybe it's too hard, maybe it's too easy, but it would be great. We work really hard to empower students to be able to advocate with their educators and have really great conversations around the instructional data. Once the student and teacher have a conversation, it's very easy to turn this domain back on, but we want to set up children for success, which is why it's not just a plug and play. If they're not successful, the system will start shutting off. Does that help?
Okay. Yes, it
questions?
does. Yes, thank you.
Oh, of course. And you can see in if your child is saying they're struggling with iReady, I would ask him to show you his progress. I think you said him or your child, whoever your child, I would look progress And then you can start having a conversation, and that'll help you at a parent-teacher conference night. Another high impact practice will share regarding personalized instruction. If your child is interested, a notebook, even a notebook at home, if they're doing a lot of lessons at home, that way they can have a space to be able to do the math, maybe react or write something they learned. And then as a parent, you can also support your child by knowing what they're doing at home with a notebook. It's just a really good life skill. You're on a Zoom right now. Maybe you want to take notes. It's just teaching children how to take notes while they're engaging in a computerized educational tool. So that's another, and we have lots of ideas if you want more for supporting your child when they're taking iReady lessons at home.
Okay, now that you brought that up, I'm so sorry. I have a question.
Yeah.
When they're doing the diagnostic test, are they allowed to have a notebook and pen there?
The
with them to
diagnostic?
do the math.
Yeah, we recommend scrap paper when students are taking the diagnostic to be able to work problems out. I could let the
Yes,
district answer
yes,
that.
my
Yep.
daughter just told me yes. Okay, I
Okay,
just
great.
wanted to confirm. Thank you.
That is a high impact practice. So good job. I mean, that we share with educators to make sure, because we want to make sure that students, for the diagnostic, it is measuring what they know and what they don't know yet. And we did not put an I don't know, because if we put an I don't know in the diagnostic, can you imagine what students would click? They would click I don't know. So it is designed to test ceilings and floors. So there's some questions that are going to be really, as the students are getting the questions right, it's going to get harder, and then it'll get easier, and then harder and easier. So there's a lot of prep that goes into the diagnostic, but we recommend that students, if they really try their best, then they can guess. It is totally okay. Teachers can see if students are rushing. There's flags, and I call them fondly clicky McClickersons. We don't want that to happen. We want students to take their time. And then from there, that's where the personalized instruction happens. But there's lots of different, if you feel like your child didn't take the diagnostic as well as they could have, there's lots of conversations you can have with the child's educator. Ready to move on to the parent report? Any other questions about personalized instruction? How are we doing on time? When a kid's class starting paper textbook, does it? Okay, so they're talking about are you talking about iReady Classroom Mathematics? There's a question in the chat. Okay, great. So yes, it does. There is a connection. So with I know we're gonna do a different night. We're just focusing on iReady personalized instruction, and then I'm gonna talk about the family report. However, for classroom, you may notice there's some practice. There's with iReady Classroom Mathematics, there is digital practice teachers can assign, which would show up over here. Then there's also different quizzes that may be assigned that would show up, and they are built together. There's also the MyPath lessons, which were still the personalized instruction. That's based on the diagnostic, but there you also will see in your child's math piece a digital bookshelf with classroom too. So you have access to their ebook at home. But I'm not going to dig too much into iReady Classroom Mathematics. I think we're having a separate night just for that. Is that correct, team? Great.
Yes, we're going to in January.
Yep. Great. So that's great. Keep asking questions. All right. So now we're going to talk about the family report that just got sent home. So in iReady itself,
Danielle, it's getting sent home November 1st.
it's getting sent home November 1st. I'm giving you a sneak peek of what the family report will be. There we go. So this is what the report you will see. So I'm going to start by showing it through I'm going to go through a class view. So let's do class diagnostic results, not the status. You can see so much data in iReady. So I'm going to select a third grader just to be the middle of the road here. So I'm going to go to my third grade class, and I'm going to show you. So I'm going to select Tarek, and this is what Tarek's family report looks like. So when you get this report, it is going to show you where they place based on the first diagnostic. For reading, it will show you the different domains. There's phonological awareness, phonics, high frequency words, vocabulary, comprehension of literature, comprehension of informational text. Phonics, phonological awareness, high frequency words, those are the early literacy skills. So if you have a student that is a third grader, fourth grader, fifth grader, a student's third, you may see words like tested out. That means they were never assessed in those domains because they have no needs in those areas. You may see needs improvement. That means that there's definitely needs in those areas, and you're going to work with your child's teacher to make sure they're getting exactly what they need in those areas. And then if it says approaching third grade, that means they're really close to being on grade level. They would be in the yellow. They're almost right there. If they are on grade level, grade 3, you also may see something called max score. So for this student, you're only going to see this first one, but once you get the second diagnostic and the third, you'll be able to see the report. But just for comparison, in the first diagnostic, this child needed to be assessed in high frequency words. And then the second diagnostic, they're good. They answered all of the questions and they got the max amount of points. So they no longer have needs in that area. Then when you scroll down or look down, because you're going to have a printout of it, you'll be able to see your child's Lexile score. And then we explain some of the terms. So the placement levels, above grade level, at grade level, approaching grade level, and needs improvement. So those are the 4 areas you're going to see. Above grade level, that would be it's called stripy green. So that means your child's definitely above grade level. At grade level means they're on point. Approaching grade level means they're just there. And then needs improvement, that's an area definitely of growth for your child. The national norms, like I said, are comparing students to other students. And then all of these domains, this is where we're comparing your child's progress to grade level standards, which is how we know where they are in reference to their grade level. So then down here, it'll tell you again, based on each diagnostic, where your child is for each of the skills. Now let me show you a math one. That was reading. This was a math. So math, again, there's the 4 areas. There's numbers and operations, algebra and algebraic thinking, measurement and data, and geometry. And I will tell you, even the way the diagnostics assessed, it's assessed in this order. It assesses numbers and operations first, then algebra, then measurement and data, then geometry. So again, it'll tell you the same type of rating, above grade level, at grade level, approaching grade level, and needs improvement. And then you get a closer view, and any additional information would be here. So questions about this report? I'm just doing my creepy smile. So it's fairly straightforward. And if you have any additional questions, this is, was somebody ask a question?
The grades that the kids get, it has something to do with the grade in the school?
No. Does the district person want to answer that? She's asking the school grades versus iReady.
iReady is used for us to track student growth, but report card grades are generated separate and aside from iReady, if that's what the question was that I think.
It was, yes. Okay, Mark. So it is used in many New York State schools. It is used, we have over 12.5 million students globally using iReady. We've been around for 10 years. So we're drawing from a huge pool for national norms. It is Angela could probably tell you how many New York State schools and I mean, maybe she couldn't tell you right this second, but the question is how many other schools are using this in New York State?
Give me 1 second and I'll put in the chat how many are using it in Westchester alone.
Okay. But we are constantly growing. A lot of people are using a lot of different schools. We're in all 50 states. We are actually used globally in different countries. So public or, I'm assuming public and private schools. Yes, there are public schools that use it, private schools, Catholic schools, you name it. Of course. So you will be getting a copy of that parent report November 1st. And again, please ask additional questions, but now I'm going to show you where you can find more information. We are happy to, we're going to stay on and make sure you, any other questions, but I'm going to point you to where you can your report if you want to dig in a little bit more. If you're on this tonight, but then you log off and the world happens and then you might forget what we said. So I'm just going to give you some additional follow-up of where you can go for more resources. Okay, we talked about that. All right. So the first place that is going to be super helpful is the Family Center. I'm going to show you again where you can find this Family Center. From your child's login, so when you're at home, if your child logs into iReady, up here in the right-hand corner, click Family Center. This is where you can click, anywhere in iReady, you can click on it, you can't break it. We've tried. I've tried to break it every day. You just click. If it's blue, you click on it. So there are, what is the tips to support your students? Frequently asked questions. Anywhere you click, you can, this actually links into a lot of the iReady classroom mathematics. But let's go over here to the ELA Family Center. In this, you can watch the video. You can look at frequently asked questions. What is iReady? Download more resources. Even a tutorial of what I just went through on your child's personalized instruction screen. So even technical troubleshooting guides, digital readiness kit for you. We have so many resources. So this is your first place. It's called the iReady Central Family Center, and you can get to there through your child's login. The second place that's going to be really helpful is the website that we put in the chat, and we'll make sure that we send this again. It is called iReadyCentral.com, Engaging Families. And here you are going to have any resource you could ever need or ever want around iReady. From helping you understand iReady, this is where we have family guides in many different languages. We have them in English and Spanish, and then additional language translations, an introduction video in English and Spanish, the Family Center link where I just showed, and then we have additional resources in multiple languages. We also have if you really want to dig more into this diagnostic results, that's another link that I put in the chat, but I will show you what this is. So this tells you, we just went over the family report, but this again explains all the bars again. So if you are looking for more directions, actually, do you send this home with the family report team, this 2-pager?
We don't send that form home, but we have shared the links that you shared in the chat. Yeah, and we'll share them again.
Yeah. So one more time. So this is again, it's a additional support. So is iReady considered standardized testing? That's a little tricky. iReady is an adaptive diagnostic. It's more of a formative assessment. It's to inform educators where students are and where they need to go to grow. Standardized test assessment, so that's more of a summative test. So iReady is not used in a summative way. It's used to inform instruction. So typically when you say standardized test, you're thinking more of like New York State assessment. Is that correct? And would you like to come off mute and ask that a little bit more? Did I answer that okay?
Danielle,
yeah.
I just I also want to add, because I know parents have the iReady individualized learning and the iReady Math Core program. And those are, it is correct, correlated in parallel to New York State standards. So if teachers are assigning lessons based on classwork, they are based on New York State standards also.
Yes, and we go through a standard setting process. The teachers can pull the data according to New York State standards. It's just not considered a standardized test. It gets a little tricky with the language, but yeah, like Kelly said, it is to the New York State assessment at the end of the year too. And Jeanette, keep asking. I want to make sure I'm answering your question. So it's since global, vast, the average taken 12 million, does it go by the states? So maybe answering this now. To be clear, Mark, are you talking about the national norms?
Oh, you're muted, Mark.
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Yes, we can hear you now. Yep.
So basically, as you're going through it, you're saying above average and all those things. Where are those statistics coming from? Or is that, so if my son comes in that he's above average in math, is that for New York? Is that for his school Greenberg? Is that for USA? That's kind of what I'm getting at. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes, that makes sense. So I'm going to show you what the teacher sees to help you answer that question, So let me click on math. What grade is your son in?
He's in first grade.
Okay, great. So let me show you a sample first grade based on the first diagnostic. So right here, this may be your son, right? If he was considered above average. So the diagnostic is measuring how students are performing against a K-12 spectrum of standards. So a first grader could be, so this first grader is at a late first grade for numbers and operations. I've seen first graders be at a second grade for algebra, second grade for geometry. So it's measuring against grade level standards. We set our scale score based on a standard setting process, but where we get the millions of kids, that's what we're talking about, the norms. So we have a normative scale that is comparing students to students. So we have a very large scale of our norms to be able to see how we're norming, like how we're comparing students. So this student right here is in the 98th percentile. But if you just look at a normative assessment, given the fact that we've been in a pandemic for the last couple of years, that's not going to really give parents a lot of information, which is why this is really helpful to know exactly what grade level standards. Now, if you want more detailed information than just above average, if you wanted to know where your student is, you can talk to your child's teacher and they can let you know.
Yeah, no, it's a great system. I'm familiar with it. I just kind of, since I'm on here, I might as well try to nitpick and get.
No, I love it. Keep asking. These are great questions. I hope I'm answering them.
Doing a great job, guys.
Okay. I hope I'm answering them. Clarity is kind, everybody. Clarity is kind. So you can go to the.
I think I saw a
One
hand.
second, Danielle.
Oh, yep.
I saw a
We
hand.
have a hand up, yes.
Yep.
Go ahead and come off mute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
You can.
Okay, so I just joined the call. I came from my daughter's meeting at her school, and our son is in second grade. So I'm sorry if I'm asking something that was already told, but I'd love to get the iReady team respond to reviews that I'm reading online. I'm a teacher myself, so my thoughts about it are not the greatest, especially in first grade, when I felt that what is being tested is essentially reading comprehension for kids that don't read. And I can tell you more about it, but from reading some reviews online, they're not positive. And I understand that the district says it's not part of the grade. That's not my understanding from looking at the report. So if I can get your thoughts about these 2 points, please. Thank you.
So let me clarify your question. So the first part of your question, you were asking if students are being just, can you just rephrase the 2 points one more time? I just want to get clear and making sure I'm
Sure.
answering.
My two questions are, number one, can you, I mean, it's very easy. You just click, you just go to Google and say, I ready reviews, and you will see for yourself, something I've done a number of times, and the reviews are not positive. And if you can respond to that, if possible.
Okay.
And then the second part is, on the one hand, I understand that the district or the team itself, iReady itself, says it's not part of the grading for the students. On the other hand, all I hear about gradings is iReady. So I don't know if this is a question for the iReady team. Maybe it's more for the district. I just get the feeling that I'm being told one thing, where in essence, our kids are being tested, and that does go to grades and all of that. And one last point was that in first grade, my son is in second now, I felt that the software is really testing reading comprehension for a child that doesn't know how to read. So even in math, the questions were really testing his understanding of reading of English, which he didn't know at that time. So it's actually three-part question, I guess.
Yes, that is true.
Okay, I can answer the first part.
Which part is true, that it's 3 parts, or everything I just said?
No, I'm another parent. The last question that you asked is correct, that there's a lot of children that cannot read yet that are being tested in kindergarten and in first grade, and they're having them do this iReady. How is that possible? They will fail.
And just one last thing, that is tied to the other 2 points, because it's testing kids on reading comprehension when they can't read. It goes to the grades, and the reviews online talk about all of that. Now I'll be quiet, and thank you for taking my question.
Okay, so we'll unpack this backwards. We'll let Greenberg answer the grading question. I want to assure you that in K to 2, there's audio supports. In math, there's audio support K to 8. So still the students are read the questions, they're read the answers, they're provided audio support for everything. In ELA, there's audio for the questions depending on the domain being asked. So depending on the questions. So if you have a first grader who is already a reader, they may be getting reading comprehension questions. So it depends on how your students are answering those questions. So even if you have a kindergartner, if your kindergartner is getting questions right, it will escalate those questions to be more challenging, because we want to know what they don't know. But in terms of a kindergartner starting, they start with kindergarten questions. They're starting with phonemic awareness. That's sounds and letters. They're not, the expectation is not reading. The questions will move toward reading comprehension, but it is read to them. So they are not reading unless they have proven that they can read by themselves. So there's question number 1. In terms of reviews, this is an Angela answer, maybe not an iReady answer, but I think that you will find both good, positive reviews for iReady. I have tons of customers, parents, educators that would speak highly of iReady. I think that oftentimes when people are upset is when they go to the internet. So you will always find upset people for everything on the internet. But if you ever want to talk to happy parents, teachers, administrators, we can definitely connect you. So I don't think that the internet would be the first place I would go for an honest review, but I think it is worth mentioning and worth talking to your district about your questions and feedback. Dr. Macaluso, I'll let you speak to clarify the grading questions.
Sure. So iReady is just one component that we use to measure our student success throughout the year. And so some of the things that we also do in the district that you may also hear of is we have professional learning communities where teachers sit down together and they look at all data sets, iReady being one of them. So we have some other sets that we use that address phonemic awareness, phonics, comprehension, and so on and so forth. So all of those data points are taken collectively for us to determine how to best suit the needs of your student and how to help them grow. So iReady in itself is not one assessment that we use that is a determining factor for a report card grade. It is a factor that we use holistically to assess a student and their growth throughout the year. And we do the same thing for math as well. So if there is a difference in what you're experiencing, then I always encourage parents to first speak with their principal regarding any questions that you might have about iReady and how grades are given and assigned to students. And then you may also have those questions, or you may also direct those questions to me as well if you haven't received an answer, or you like to ask a little bit more deeply about the question after speaking with your child's principal. But it's certainly not a one and done thing where this is the assessment, this is the grade, and that's it. But I did want us to also recap and reiterate the piece that was shared earlier. And I think the question is coming from parent who acknowledged that they had to join us a little bit late. And so if you are seeing comprehension questions because of the adaptive nature of the exam, then at some way in the exam, your child demonstrated that they might have some skills in that area. So the test bumped them up to that level. If they continue to not have success with that level with reading comprehension, then that's where we know their threshold is, and that's where we know that's where we need to push them by building on their phonics skills and their fluency skills. So it's a lot of different pieces, and again, your child's principal would be a good resource for that as well if you have additional questions, and then I'm always available for questions as needed as well. And I'm not sure if Lori and Kelly would like to add anything to that piece as well.
The only other thing I'd add is I am also an iReady mom, and when my kids come home and tell me that iReady was hard, then I let them know that means they were doing a good job, because when you're getting the questions right, plus we always want to encourage our children anyway, but when you're getting it right, it gets harder. So I know that when they are getting questions that they're perceiving to be hard, that they were doing a good job and they were being challenged. So I would encourage you to have those same conversations with your kids. Your educators are reminding them that as you get questions right, they get harder. But if you also, recognize that at home, then you'll know why they're getting those hard questions as well.
First of all, thank you for answering, and thank you, Dr. Macaluso. This is Idan Santos. We spoke before, and I appreciate not only everybody for answering, but also your accessibility and being part of this call. And I guess, and I'll finish with that. I don't want to take everybody's time. I guess it's a matter of approach that I honestly don't understand fully. You're talking about something getting harder and harder, and that actually is an educational tool versus approach that I appreciate more, which is a chain of success. And when a child succeeds in something, we should encourage them to succeed more in that direction, for example. And it's a different approach, I feel. And the fact is that we're having a meeting about iReady, being told it's just part of a holistic thing. I think the emphasis, or I wonder, not think, I wonder, what about the teachers' take on students on a personal level, where they learn to know them? We're talking about an AI algorithm that is analyzing our kids. That's just, I'm not really asking anything. I'm just not really understanding what is the whole picture.
So I will just add, I'll just add that, of course, teachers are going to know their students. I mean, something that I've shared all week in the last 3 weeks with educators, thousands of educators. For students to learn and grow, they need to be cognitively and emotionally engaged and feel safe. This is one way that we're empowering educators with data to cognitively engage students, but of course the educators are engaging students on an emotional level. This is helping to save educators time. So by the adaptive diagnostic, it is formative, it's informing instruction. It is empowering educators to know what students know, what they don't know yet. And it's just one step in the right direction to have a successful, powerful learning partnership with students and teachers in buildings. And I will say, to add on to Angela's points, I work with educators across the country. We are a very responsive company. If, in fact, there's a little question right here. Educators can literally give us feedback through iReady all day, every day, and they do, and we respond. So if you have concerns, we are always happy to help answer questions, even from this website. There's places to submit feedback right down here. We would love your feedback. So if you want to give us more feedback directly as a company, we'd always accept feedback. We're always responding to educators, and we appreciate you taking the time to join us tonight. So because of that time, we are at time. So in conclusion, I appreciate all of you. Next steps, you're going to get that parent report. Make sure you look at the My Progress section on your students' iReady dashboard, explore the Family Center, and you have your iReady partner team. We're here to help you. You have an amazing partner team at your district. And if you want to continue to connect with us and see some really cool success stories, you can look us up on social media. We're always, educators are tweeting daily on really cool things that are happening to make education spaces a fun, data-driven places to celebrate growth. So I appreciate you all for being here, and we will leave the last 3 minutes for any other questions, and then we'll let y'all get back to your lives. And Thursday night football, if that's a thing that people watch.
Somebody did ask how the reports are being sent home, and they are being printed and sent home in the students' backpacks.
Just to clarify that, Kelly, that is going to take place K through grade 6. 7 and 8 will be mailing it home. They're mailing it on Friday, tomorrow, so you'll receive it in the mail for grade 7 and 8.
Thank you, Lori.
Well, thank you all from the iReady team for joining. Thank you, Greenberg, for hosting us. We hope
Thank
you guys
you.
have a great night.
Thank you so much, iReady team, for your continued partnership. Parents, thank you so much for coming out, at least virtually, for this session. We'd also like to start having some of these sessions be in person, so we hope to see as many faces and questions in person. So with that, I do want to say thank you so much for your continued partnership, Greenberg families. Always continue to know that we have open door, open phone, open email policy. And so any additional questions that you may have, we are always just a call, email, or a visit away. And again, at the school level and at the central level as well. And Kelly and Lori also available to assist as needed. So with that, thank you and have a very great night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.